Tumeingia vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunaketi kitako, tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako. Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for making time to join us. This is Sound Candid Talk, Open Forum Political Discussion Show, the show that gives you an opportunity to air what you feel and think about the latest development on our political front. Well, our country never ceases to shock Kenyans by reasons of revelations that are coming up with every passing day. The darkest day that happened in this country in June last year during the Gen Z-led protests against the finance bill had a lot that happened against the will and the wishes of the majority of Kenyans. One of the shocking reality of the same is lives of innocent young people that got lost in the process. Different documentations give different data on the same, but it's approximately we lost over 30 lives in those protests. Now, the painful part of it is the 3 that lost their lives in parliament buildings. The BBC has given a documentary with forensic expose on who exactly shot those that were killed, especially at the parliament buildings. Now, this is coming from the backdrop of the then Interior CS, Kithure Kindiki, the current deputy president, claiming that not every bullet can be traced to the police officer. And the president is also on record to have said the protests were genuine and they were well intended, but criminals infiltrated the protests and carried out the killings. The revelations by the BBC are saying otherwise. They are able to piece together the photographs that were taken in that moment of the shooting when hell broke loose as the young people pushed the gates and forced their way into parliament buildings. Thereafter, they were running out, having accomplished whatever they were accomplishing in terms of letting the country know that they have had it and the ruling class is not sensitive to their wishes. And so they had made their statement and they were rushing out. Now, one of the painful things that happened is that while they were running away, someone who is spotted as soldier is seen shooting one of them in a very, very painful experience. Well, this one and alarmed that the KDF and of all the security forces is with the people, and it exists solely for the defense of the people. What happened until they turned their gun against the very people they are supposed to protect? If boss speaks to the public and weighs into the politics of the day, say it must go. What is that telling Kenyans? Is there a message Kenyans are not picking from this conversation? The KDF boss says the slogan Ruto must go. On the other hand, Ruto, while in Naivasha or Nakuru, he defends the defense boss in terms of we should not drag the military into the politics. There is something going on that Kenyans seem, and I want us to dive deep into it. Is there a pact between William Ruto and the KDF in such a way that no matter what Kenyans say, no matter what Kenyans vote, they will keep William Ruto in office? Or what's cooking here? I invite your input, even as we speculate, judge matters, and I'm happy to be joined by who is going to help us piece together these things. And of course, Kenyans, to be forewarned is to be forearmed. There is something I'm seeing with the so-called opposition leadership that is not impressing me at all, because they're doing the same old coming together and arranging who among them is going to take on William Ruto. That is normal. That has always been there. I mean, we need to see something different. And if they continue playing like this, William Ruto will be seated in State House before they know it. Well, let's venture into this as we open up these stories and be able to analyze them properly. Please be an extension of what we are doing right here, right where you are, by sharing the link with somebody. Invite somebody. The show is on, and we're here to analyze Kenyan politics the right way. And then, of course, we are not limited to Kenyan politics. We'll also be wading into the African politics. There is the Traore, Trump, and Putney trio that seems not to be at peace anymore. I understand Traore has turned down the invitation by Trump, and he seems not to be budging. And of course, Putney and Russia have said anybody touching him is touching Russia. So we are in for great time in this moment, even as we unveil various aspects of political understanding. But most interesting and most important is the place of ordinary mwananchi in all these. Are we going to be enslaved forever? And we'll be looking at the history behind it, just to get everything balanced and well. I appreciate those joining us on TikTok. Thank you so much. Let me see those likes rise, and then of course share the live, follow us, subscribe to the channel. Let's talk, let's engage, let's of course do what we must do. Our Kenyan parliament was looking into the same documentary of the BBC. Some of them were dismissal, others were telling Kenyans to accept and move on. There is no statement that cuts right into the hearts of long-suffering Kenyans like that statement, accept and move on. We've been urged to accept and move 7. and we are moving on, but nothing has been changing. So when a member of parliament takes to the floor of the house and says it is okay, it is not a peculiar case for people to die in parliament or people to be shot, it breaks my heart completely. I mean, if those are the people that you call your representative and they are saying that it's okay for young people to die without a reason, simply because they are protesting on what is rightfully theirs, asking the candidate and move on. Amount of what? Let's just hear them and look out what we will say.
A section of MPs allied to the Kenya Kwanza government are now demanding a probe into the BBC following the release of its documentary Blood Parliament, a hard-hitting investigation that unmasked security officers allegedly involved in the killing of protesters outside on June 25, 2024. The MPs claim that the documentary has reopened deep wounds from last year's anti-government demonstrations and is fanning public anger among young people. As Emmanuel Tonau reports, they are urging the nation to move on, insisting that such incidents are not unique to Kenya.
Is there any reason to spill blood on the grounds of Kenya's parliament?
In a swift and fiery rejoinder to the BBC's hard-hitting documentary Blood Parliament, which unmasked security officers allegedly involved in the fatal shooting of at least 3 protesters outside Parliament on June 25, 2024, a section of MPs allied to the Kenya Kwanza administration has dismissed the documentary as a targeted political attack.
But we also moved on.
Leading the charge, National Assembly Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations Vice Chair Abdullahi Bashir accused the BBC of stoking public emotions, insisting Kenyans the world.
It happens world over. People are killed. Our people are killed. We sympathize. We moved on. Even world over.
The Mandera North MP dismissed the BBC document and incendiary, accusing it of stoking public anger, and took a swipe at local media outlets for giving it prominence.
And it touches on lack of patriotism also on our part, trying to showcase things done by a foreign media.
His Dagoretti South counterpart John Kerry also joining the fray, accusing the media house of advancing the interests of a foreign nation in Kenya.
Is BBC speaking as a mouthpiece of the government and the people of Britain? Or what is it that the BBC is doing? Could it be an attempt to untwist this country so that they can rescind on the rider that we put on their training of the Batuk units in Kenya, Mr. Speaker?
The sentiments by the Dagoretti South legislator come barely a year after he was forced to swallow his words that downplayed the intensity of the disease.
Because even some of the photos that we were seeing out of the streets, I can tell you as a graphic editor that they do not belong to this country. Photos were being taken off the internet and being edited.
The MP will 4 days later retreat in surrender, claiming he made the comments in the heat of the moment. These, even as Deputy Minority Whip and Suba North MP Emilio Odhiambo urged compassion for families who lost loved ones, calling for the establishment of a commission of inquiry to deliver justice and closure to victims of police brutality.
You can't stop the media. Somebody else will fuel that anger again. But I would appeal that we set up a select committee to deal with this issue.
The MPs who passed the Finance Bill 2024 against the public outcry celebrated when President William Ruto bowed to pressure in Nairobi.
Mambo kama hayo, nashukuru kila mmoja kwa kujiunga nasi. Tunashukuru, naomba tafadhali tumakinike kukaribishana tunapoanza uchambuzi wetu wa masuala haya yanayotuhusu sisi. Hao ndio wabunge wetu, wanasema watu wanakufa, tunakubali, tusonge mbele. Sasa mimi sielewi swala kama hili ambalo kuonyesha kwamba kuna sehemu fulani ya nchi yetu ambayo inatumika vibaya, ambayo badala ilinde maisha inaangamiza maisha. Alafu wale ambao wanapaswa kutengeneza sheria za kulinda kila mwananchi wanasema tukubali, tusahau, tusonge mbele. Alafu tena wanasema kwamba BBC ni foreign news news house, kwa hivyo ripoti yao haiwezi kuwa ya uhakika. Ninyi mtanieleza, mimi niko hapa kujifunza. Bwana Jeremani, hali vipi?
Salama sana Bernard. Hoping you're well.
Yes, I'm good. Thank you so much for making time to join us.
Thank you.
Naomba tuingilie hili swala moja kwa moja.
Sure. So I've been following the trends. I've been following the happenings with regard to this BBC, the Blood Parliament. And I like that you played the portion of the members of parliament, at least the member of parliament, saying it happens world over and we move on. Now, that's a very important point that he underscores, because it appears over the years we've been a move on nation. We have been the kind of nation that says this has happened, accept and move on. I think this is a time we're starting to see the consequences of accept and move on. It's now live with us, and everyone can now see. Well, I'm hoping, because at times I get the impression that we see it momentarily and then it disappears in a flick of an eye. But this element of us saying accept and move on is starting to become a problem. Politicians, as you have seen with the parliamentarians, have learned that we are an accept and move on kind of nation. So all they need to do is make sure whatever happens today, they circumvent, go around the event for a day or two, and Kenyans will accept and move on. The BBC has highlighted for us things that were stuck before our eyes. We all saw the shootings. We all saw who was shot. But you can imagine this happened in June 25th of 2024, and no media house, including our own social media DCI, have taken the kind of time to analyze these people were shot. Where were they shot from? It had to take BBC to open our eyes that these people were shot by escorting a uniformed officer right in front of, is it the GSU or I believe those were the GSU, the paramilitary. That BBC showed us how there were information, and one of them in front of the queue went on a squat and then fired. BBC also showed us that from another angle in Parliament, when people are running out of Parliament, someone went and shot directly at the people. We were always wondering, where did the shots come from? Some of us, including myself, were thinking the snipers were positioned at Bunge Towers high up there. Some of us were thinking the snipers were positioned on top of the Parliament buildings. But BBC has shown us starkly that these people were right in front of our eyes, only that we didn't pay attention. Now, I don't know if you're going to now move into the next step in this conversation to ask if they were held to account, but I think it's too early. You've just given me the opportunity to come in and make commentary about the parliamentarian. So let me send it back to you, and then I'm still available to discuss.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeremani, for that good start and observation as we start the conversation, ladies and gentlemen, karibisha mtu ili tumakinike pamoja. Hili ni swala nyeti ambalo hatuwezi kulipuuzia, na kile ambacho wabunge wanachokisema kinaudhi sana, na naomba kwamba hamaki ya Wakenya ikasimame jinsi inapaswa kusimama ili tupate haki kama Wakenya. Let's not play games with people's lives and toy around in the pretext that we must defend a particular political persuasion or political party or regime at the expense of constitutional provision. I don't have a problem with the KDF or whoever participating into keeping peace and security and order. But if it is defending a regime at all cost to a level of shooting unarmed peaceful protesters, and you tell us to accept and move on, we are not moving on. This one must bring down this regime. If nothing else works, this one should work. And those attacking the messenger, address the message, not the messenger. BBC only magnified what happened. What are you saying about it? That's what we need to hear from you as a member of parliament or as a political leader. Give us what is your take on what transpired, what the KDF soldier did, if indeed he is. I understand he has been denied, has been thrown under the bus. We'll also be looking into that. Now this being called an imposter. Kenya never ceases to shock me. Wonders never cease in this country. Undumani, hali vipi? Undumani, unmute. Ehe, hapo. Tulia, wacha pupa. Let me see if I can unmute you from here. Okay, unmute. Right. Undumani ni kama pole, inaonekana Undumani ametupwa nje. Rekebisha mitambo alafu rudi Undumani. Tuangazie masuala haya kwa kina.
Maybe as Undumani is still coming in.
Yes.
Let me now make commentary about what the Member of Parliament for Dagoretti, is it South, John Kiaria said.
Yes.
So John Kiaria castigates the BBC for having aired the documentary, and his angle is that, are they running a campaign against the government or against the country so that they can force the arm of the government into signing or meeting some expectations regarding the Batuk? And I find that that's a diversionary tactic. Certainly everyone can see that. It's a diversionary tactic because BBC has been here, BBC has been places. It's only that when they touch on the matters that portray the reality of what parliamentarians and the government have failed to address, is when now the parliamentarians find fault with the BBC. And I find that in a way, this, what we call the freedom of media or the media rights, are being curtailed, even in the statements of some of these parliamentarians. Because number one, media freedom, and I shared this in another forum, that Media, number one is the media ownership. Who owns the media? Number two is the government censorship. Censorship can be direct, or censorship can be in form of a heavy hand of the government on a particular media house. And the third one also then can be the in-house editorial policies. In this case, we're finding that media freedom is being curtailed by government, and usually democracy, media freedom. Now back to the line that BBC is running an attack campaign against the government. Number one, 3 arms of government: judiciary, parliament or legislature, and the executive arm. And we all know that the media is the fourth estate. And it is the fourth estate because it is supposed to be the eye of the people in these various arms of government. And BBC is doing exactly, playing its role rightfully by being the eye of the people, where the people may not have had the opportunity to have a direct entry or eye into. Now, if he is insisting on the line, and that is John Kiari, that the BBC is running an attack campaign, then he should also be reminded that his work is to represent the people. His attack on the fourth estate, is it upholding media rights? And in my direct answer will be no. That attack is not upholding media rights. Is that attack allowing for transparency? No, it is not. And that also is another thing that he as a legislator should be reminded that he is actually curtailing media rights and media freedoms. Finally, I see that Millie Odhiambo mentioned the aspect of having a select committee. In the history of Kenya, select committees are usually the ones that spike investigations. When I say spike, I mean they kill investigations. They kill what is supposed to be a transparent pursuit of a matter in the public domain. Select committees have been known to spend time on a matter, waiting for the matter to cool off, and then present a report that is never implemented to the full extent. In the select committee that Millie Odhiambo is proposing, I believe that is a time-buying tactic, because if the select committee was an important facet to this process, they would have conducted that select committee or starting on the 25th or the 26th of June 2024. This is almost a year later, is when that it strikes so that we need a select committee. They are too late. Now, this should also not escape the attention of the people of Kenya, that diversionary tactics are already being deployed, both by people in government and also, unfortunately, people in ODM in this instance. Back to you.
Oh, thank you, Jeremiah, for that excellent overview. Therefore, there to get a balance in we pray that they will not succeed in covering this up like the usual stories we have had from the past, when heinous crimes were committed by regimes, and then they are covered up in the name of select committees and then reports and things like that. I think Kenyans are now wiser, and we need to secure this country without necessarily, cowering or out or playing the political chess game that is we are being invited into on matters that are touchy like this one, of lives being lost, and then you tell us to accept and move on. And Kiaria and team are just jokers. Okay, I can only refer to them as jokers because BBC, like I said, stop attacking the messenger. Just respond to the message. Tell us nobody died. The way Mutua used to say when he was government spokesman, nobody has died of hunger, and people have been buried by the chief. The chief is confused. Then he comes and says nobody has died of hunger. I think what's cooking right now can no longer be covered up. The earlier the administration owns up and ask for forgiveness, probably it may have a chance. But this one's of cover up, twisting, denying that the KDF man was not a KDF man, is an imposter, and all that. I think that jargon is not going to work. Undumani pole, naomba tafadhali rejea. Tukirejea hivi tutakupatia nafasi yako. Inaonekana network yako kama kawaida inasumbuliwa na Museveni. Tulikuambia urafiki wako na Museveni utakuletea shida, basi ona basi. Chitetee urejee alafu changia. Now I want us to play another video from Parliament just to see different views on parliamentarians on this matter, and then we dive deep into understanding what should be done. And then Jeremani Fabiano hapa na nani huyu mdumize wanalia, sauti yako iko chini, so itabidi uongeze volume ama uongeze volume from both ends. But thank you very much. Let's listen further on the debate by parliamentarians on matters blood parliament. The expose by BBC now being brushed off by members of parliament as if it means nothing, and as if the lives that were lost means nothing. To me, that's very painful, and we shouldn't be having that at all.
Meanwhile, members of parliament remain divided on the BBC documentary Blood Parliament. The documentary has sparked outrage, reopened old wounds, and elicited an interesting debate in the National Assembly. Some lawmakers are accusing BBC of bias and questioning its motives, as NTV senior reporter Catherine Omwando now tells us.
As millions continue to watch BBC's Blood Parliament documentary on the internet, the matter made its way to the floor of the House.
Honourable Speaker, I want to bring to the attention of this House something of national importance that has been happening in the last 2 days. And this is a matter that has been aired on our media stations and televisions called Bloodbath Parliament.
The documentary revisits the events of June 25th, 2024, a day marked by chaos and bloodshed. But according to Balahian of the House Committee on Defence, the BBC is opening old wounds.
A very sad day indeed, tragic and shameful. Tragic in the sense that we lost lives of our fellow Kenyans. Shameful in the sense that democracy of the parliament was about to be infringed. And nevertheless, it has come at this time, a time that we have really moved on. We spoke about that issue in this House, discussed it, sympathized, mourned our fellow Kenyans who passed on during that day.
While families of those killed during the finance bill protests have buried their kin, to say the country has moved on can be seen as somewhat tone deaf.
Mr. Speaker, we lost many young people, and we have very many young people who are traumatized as a consequence of what happened. Mr. Speaker, it is a point in our country that all of us wish never happened, but it happened. Mr. Speaker, I think we have not handled this issue well, and that is why sometimes you find people from outside. We were able to acknowledge that things went wrong, and we need to fix it. Then, Mr. Speaker, even if BBC aired it, it doesn't matter. We have to fix our own problems on our own.
In an effort to divert attention from matters of social justice and police brutality, Dagoretti North Member of Parliament questioned BBC's objectivity, tying the broadcaster to arrangements made between Kenya and the United Kingdom.
Mr. Speaker, the British Army Training Unit is known to have killed our people. They're known to have raped our women. They are known to have maimed our people. Mr. Speaker, they are also known for serious environmental degradation. And we understand, Mr. Speaker, even in media, that the BBC is funded by taxpayers' money in Britain, meaning that BBC is funded to push the foreign agenda of the British people internationally, Mr. Speaker.
As the debate continues, this BBC documentary has reignited public interest and raised broader questions like who bears responsibility for the violence, and are ongoing investigations being conducted independently and transparently. Catherine Amwando, NTV.
Karibu kila mmoja, tunashukuru. Naomba moja kwa moja tumsikilize Undumani, ana hitilafu ya mitambo. Undumani, hali vipi?
Salama Bernard, unanipata?
Unapatikana, karibu.
Okay, asante. Nimeona yule mbunge na Kiingereza mingi kwa mdomo Bernard. Ndio nilisema wale watu walisoma Bernard na Kiingereza mingi kwa mdomo, hata afadhali yule mtu wa kwenda shule, kwa sababu yule alienda shule akiongea anaongea polepole na anaongea na hasira. Mtu yule alisoma, yule mtu alienda shule Bernard. Hii wabunge tulipeleka huko atuwasomi ni wajinga tupu Bernard. Wakisema we forget and we move on ni sawa, it doesn't matter. Tutaendelea, tutasahau, hao watasahau Bernard. Kwa sababu yule alikunia alisahau, lakini yule alikanyaga hakusahau Bernard. Unaona Bernard? Yule alikunia alisahau mafi ile alikunia. Lakini yule alikanyaga hata sahau, kwa sababu atapita hapa anasema choo inakuanga hapa. Sasa wabunge wako na akili kidogo, walisahau vile walikuwa wanatolewa na ambulance kwa bunge. Walisahau. Wengine walisahau vile nyumba zao zilichomwa. Wengine walisahau ya kwamba walivamiwa Bernard. Hiyo ni akili kidogo, lakini watapatikana tu, watakuja kupatikana kwa ghafla Bernard. Na hii inji ikichomeka Bernard, wale matajiri ndio wataumia. Masikini wataumia, wale vijana 1,000,000 au 10,000,000 wenye hawana kazi watapata siku hiyo kazi ya kufanya Bernard. Wacha wabunge waibenge pesa ya Kenya wakienda kuficha huko ng'ambo. Wajenge kule ng'ambo, kwa sababu wanajua hapa maisha yao hakuna hapa Kenya. Waibe hii mali ya Kenya wakienda kujenga ng'ambo. Lakini wakuje waame na familia zao wakienda ng'ambo Bernard. Hii inji wako na mustakabadhi ya kujenga hii inji. Na tena hao wako na mustakabadhi wa kubomoa hii inji. Na hao wenyewe ndio watabomoa hii inji Bernard. Hao wenyewe ndio watabomoa, na hiyo Kiingereza yao mingi sana kwa mdomo. Hiyo Kiingereza mingi kwa mdomo linabomoa hii inji Bernard. Ndio nilisema Bernard ya kwamba afadhali wale watu walisoma na wale wakusoma wote wakutane kwa bunge huko Bernard. Si wale walikuwa wanatengeneza sheria ati mbunge akuwe na degree. Hili degree ya mafi hii ya mafi hiyo degree Bernard. Kwa sababu hii ni degree au hiyo usomi ya kuharibu inji. Kwa sababu hiyo usomi yao ndio itaweka hii inji katika tabu. Hiyo usomi yao Bernard na Kiingereza mingi. Hii Kiingereza mingi ndio itaweka hii Kenya kwa shida sana Bernard. Lakini Kiingereza mingi wataongea ng'ambo, wataongelea hapa Kenya. Wakati kutanuka, wamesahau ya kwamba hii maneno ya jinsi ilitokea. Lakini Mungu atakuja tena kuleta jinsi nyingine wata control Bernard. Sasa ni wakati yao wa kutengeneza inji. Inatakana hii ndio wakati yao ya kupatia vijana kazi. Hii ndio wakati yao ya kufanyia vijana ile kitu wanataka. Lakini sasa kama huwezi kupatia vijana kazi, huwezi kusaidia vijana, ndio wanaua vijana. Bernard, wewe umeua, serikali imeua watoto yako. Huko na kaburi kwa mlango pale. Utasahau hiyo kaburi? Bado hiyo kaburi iko na hasira. Wewe uko na hasira wakati hiyo kaburi iko kwa mlango, Bernard. So hao wanasahau vijana wetu walikufa. Lakini wanasema tusahau na tuendelee mbele. Okay, tusahau tutaendelea mbele. Lakini huko mbele itakuwa namna gani, Bernard? Hiyo hasira ina mtoto yako wako kaburini, hiyo ndio hasira itatoka, Bernard. Hiyo itatoka. Itakuwa kati ya vita kati ya maskini na tajiri. Na wataona, Bernard, ile watafanywa, Bernard. Wajua ya kwamba wakati inji inachemuka, inji itakuwa imebaki kwa mikono ya polisi na jeshi na maskini. Wale matajiri watakuwa wameweka magari yao kwa police station. Hii magari wanatembelea kubwa kubwa, hii haitakuwa kwa barabara, Bernard. Hii barabara itakuwa imejaa na watu maskini, vijana wale maskini, vijana wale baba zao walikufa, mama yao walikufa, watoto wao walikufa. Inji itakuwa imebaki na hao na wanajeshi. Wasifikiria kwamba wako na polisi, wako na jeshi, alafu wanaua watoto wetu, wanasema we forget and we move on. Okay, tunaweza sahau na tunaendelea mbele. Lakini hasira bado tungali tunabeba hasira kwa kifua yetu. Lakini wakati ya hasira itatoka kwa kifua, Bernard, watasema afadhali wangesaliwa Kenya. Wangesaliwa Kenya, waibi mapesa, wakiiba hii manoti, wakiiba madola hapa Kenya, wakienda kuficha huko ng'ambo, wakijenga ng'ambo. Na wakae huko na familia zao. Kwa sababu unaona jinsi, Bernard, ninakukumbusha ya kwamba jinsi wanajua mpaka mahali watoto yao wanasoma. Jinsi wanajua mahali watoto yao biashara yao iko. Jinsi wanajua kila mahali, Bernard. Watapona waongee na Kiingereza yao mingi huko kwa bunge. Haya huko Baragoi huko. Si watoto ya watu wamekufa, wamepigwa risasi. Wamepigwa risasi kwa nini? Hiyo sasa wasahau ile ya Baragoi. Watoto wa watu wamechomwa, wamepigwa risasi. Hawa sasa watoto wasahau? Hawatasahau, Bernard. Hawatasahau, Bernard. Wasipotengeneza inji, halafu wanajifanya na Kiingereza mingi, tunaitisha uchaguzi itakuja 2027. Wajue ya kwamba aidha watapita au wataanguka. Na kama watapita, wapite kwa ile njia iko mzuri, Bernard. Wasijibutu kuiba kura yetu. Hii kuiba kura yetu ninafanya tunaumia. Lakini Bernard, nasema ya kwamba wasijibutu kuiba kura yetu. Wahesabu kura yetu na hiyo Kiingereza yao mingi ile wamesema wameenda shule. Kwa sababu wanaenda shule na kusoma na kuhesabu ile reverse, wanahesabu reverse. Lakini this time 2027 wahesabu kura yetu mzuri. Na mtu yule atajibutu kuiba kura yetu, hatutaenda Supreme Court. Hakuna Supreme Court tutaenda straight away kwa yule mtu aliiba kura yetu. Yule mtu aliiba kura yetu, huyo ndio tunaenda straight away kwake. Lakini wajue ya kwamba waue watoto wetu, wanasema okay, we move on. Tutaendelea mbele vile Kenya inataka. Tunaendelea tu mbele. Lakini itafika mahali, Bernard, watakosa mali ya kutembea. Bernard. Hii watu na Kiingereza mingi kwa mdomo. Kiingereza mingi kwa mdomo, wanafikiria watatumia polisi na jeshi. Mwananchi haogopi jeshi, haogopi polisi. Ikiwa mbaya ni mbaya, Bernard. Hii ni wakati ya hao kutengeneza inji. Na wajua watoto wetu ni watoto wetu. BBC imetambua, Bernard. Biblia inasema sema mambo ya ukweli na ukweli itakuweka huru. Ukweli itakuweka huru. Hata wakipiga kelele, maneno ya BBC wamesikia. Imewaingia kwa masikio yao, wamesikia. Sasa watadu nini? BBC imewaambia. Na inji ya BBC huko inji ya Uingereza yataka watu wafisadi. Watu wafisadi, wauaji. Inji ya Uingereza haitaki watu kama hao. Sasa waende kuwakanya huko kwa inji yao. Wamewaambiwa, wamesikia. Hata wakipiga Kiingereza mingi, lakini wamesikia. Na wamesikia kwamba watoto wetu walikufa. Waliua watoto wetu. So, na hivi Kiingereza mingi kwa bunge, hivi Kiingereza mingi hii wamesikia. Kama wamesikilia kwa masikio, wamesikia. Kama wamesikilia kwa mdomo, Bernard, wamesikia. Sasa watadu nini? Na watoto na sisi wa Kenya tunajua hiyo nini inaendelea. Hawa wanafikiria Wakenya ni wajinga. Wakenya si wajinga. Na siku moja watakuja kujuta ya baba yao na mama zao kuwapeleka kwa shule kusoma. Watajua ya kwamba wakati walienda kwa shule kusoma, walisoma kwenda kuharibu inji. Itafika mahali watoto yao wazazi yao watalia na kusiaga meno. Biblia inasema watakuja kulia na kusiaga meno. Iko siku inakuja. Na hivi Kiingereza yao mingi watalia na kusiaga meno Bernard. Sasa watu wapige Kiingereza mingi, wapige Kiingereza vile wanataka. Lakini itafika mahali hata hiyo bunge watatoka. Watakuwa wanategemea polisi na jeshi ati wawasaidie katika hiyo bunge, hawatatoka. Watapata ya kwamba polisi imewageuka, watapata jeshi imewageuka, mwananchi yako kando. Bernard, Mungu atabadilisha hii inji. Watafikiria ya kwamba wataua wananchi na kumbe wanatumia polisi na jeshi kuua wananchi, lakini Mungu atabadilisha hiyo maneno Bernard. Mungu atabadilisha na polisi watakuwa adui kwao. Wanajeshi watakuwa na adui kwao, wataua kama nzige Bernard. Wataua kama nzige, lakini mwananchi hata gusa hao Bernard. Mwananchi Mungu atawapigania. Bernard. Na Mungu ataweka confusion katika jeshi. Mungu ataweka confusion katika polisi, na hao ndio watakuwa adui Bernard. Polisi watawafagia na wanajeshi watawafagia, watatafuta inji kutoroka inji, lakini uwanja wa ndege itakuwa imetegwa nyara. Sisi wananchi tutakuwa tunasherekea. Uwanja wa ndege imefungwa, kila mahali imefungwa, hakuna kutoroka, hakuna kuenda inji Bernard. Mungu atakuja kubadilisha upepo Bernard. Watafikiria sisi wananchi ni adui yao, na kumbe polisi na jeshi ndio itakuwa adui yao. Wakati watakuja kupindua hii inji, hakuna mwanasiasa ataingia katika uwanja wa ndege. Hakuna mwanasiasa ataingia ati anafuga Uganda, anafuga Tanzania katika mipaka. Mipaka yote itakuwa imefungwa yote. Watapita wapi? Wanafikiria polisi na jeshi ni marafiki zao. Hakuna Bernard. Mungu atabadilisha. Sisi wananchi ndio tutakuwa tunasherehekea wakati inji imepinduliwa. Tutakuwa tunasherehekea na kuomba Mungu wetu Bernard. Na polisi na jeshi ndio watakuwa na kuwaswaga Bernard. Ni hayo tu Bernard, Mungu awabariki.
Asante Udumani, tunashukuru kwa utangulizi huo. Naamini kila mmoja unatupata kwa njia safi. Naomba tafadhali tuambie unatupata ukiwa wapi, na kama unatupata kwa njia safi, kila mmoja tumakinike kukaribishana. Hiyo namba ya watazamaji ipande tafadhali, na ukue active. Kama hujapiga kura yako, piga kura yako.